Hey, I'm so happy you had me for lunch. This is Lunch with Laura, and I'm so sorry I wasn't with you yesterday. I was running on a deadline and trying to get some stuff done, but thank you for your patience, but I'm back. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about a article that I ran across that says it's talking about really bad dating advice. It's by Jackie Pilosoff. And so we're going to be talking about that because some things I agree with her and some things I don't. Okay, so I want to know what you think. What's been the worst piece of dating advice you've ever gotten? Put that in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you're watching the live version or if you're watching the tape version, tell me what's the worst suggestion that anybody's ever made to you about dating, okay? And be like, how'd they come up with that? Okay. Number one, she says, the best way to get over someone is to get under someone. I'm like, okay, yeah, I agree with her on that one. It's a really pretty bad a piece of advice to give to someone, especially when they're hurting and they're trying to adjust to their new single life, and to just say, hey, just that's just me. No judgment for anybody who found themselves in that situation. I get it. A lot of times we're feeling vulnerable. We're feeling rejected sometimes. We're feeling like we need some validation. So, no judgment, but I would say I would never give someone that piece of advice. That's true. So I agree with her on number one. Um, and she says, number two, wait at least a year before dating after divorce. Now, that's a really bad idea. That she thinks that's one of the worst pieces of advice to give a divorced woman, because her rationale is, well, hey, the problem, probably began years ago before the divorce, and you're probably feeling lonely and sad, and the reason why you're dating is companionship and friendship and fun and all that. That's true, but I have to admit, I mean, even just from my experience, that women tend to be more vulnerable right after divorce. Um, their feelings are just at a kind of a heightened sensitivity. I guess that's the best way of putting it. It's a heightened sensitivity. And so you can be more vulnerable to bad things, people with bad intentions. And so I would say you don't necessarily have to put it at a year mark, but you need to get to a point where you feel like your emotions aren't so raw, number one, that you're not feeling all of the kind of, you're still dealing with all of the negative things from the divorce, like feeling rejected if you got cheated on, or, feeling disrespected if you got cheated on. Because sometimes the person that we deal with, what's the word I want to say, the person that we end up attracting sometimes is a very person that still has a lot of those same negative traits if we haven't had an opportunity to kind of work that out of our emotions and out of our heart. So, if 4 months down the road you feel like that you've gotten to a safer place emotionally, that you can really enter into a healthier, you know, romantic relationship, and that's fine. You don't have to put it at 12 months, but I would say, just be very, very careful if you're jumping, from your divorce into the dating scene. So just be careful, okay? So I wouldn't necessarily put it a year, but I would certainly say you're more vulnerable. And I even found myself in that situation. I was more vulnerable, so just know. Okay, number three, she says, don't let your ex-wife or your ex-husband into your home. Now, obviously, I'm talking about a lot of women, so don't let your ex-husband into your home. That depends on what's going on. That depends. I mean, if you're saying that to kind of be, mean, and there's really no reason for you to feel like your ex would start to go through all your stuff, or if you really feel like you're not safe, or if you really feel like he is verbally abusive, something like that. If he's abusive in some way, emotionally, obviously physically, you don't want to be alone in an isolated place by yourself with him. But she's saying if you're just kind of being mean, and when he comes to pick up the kids, he has to wait outside and blah blah blah. He doesn't need to go roaming through the whole house. He doesn't need to have the run of the place. But it's fine. It really just depends on what your comfort level is. If you really feel like, also too, if he's a manipulator and is going to try to get you to go back to bed with him, then yeah, you don't want to let him in. But if it's just to be mean and get back at him, then yeah, I would agree. That's we're above that. We're always going to take the high road, and be the bigger person. Number 4, it says, don't date until you're officially divorced. Now that really just depends on your beliefs and just your moral compass. Now, for me personally, someone has to be legally divorced. I mean, the judge has to sign the papers. I want to see the judge's signature. But that's me because, I'm a lawyer and I have seen stranger things. I have seen people almost at the courthouse to finalize their divorce and they reconcile. So for me, they have to be legally divorced for me to, even look in their direction. So, that's just me. If you, have other, feelings about that, no judgment, no judgment. And I hope you don't judge me for my feelings and comments on it. So, okay, so number 5, he says, act like you're not interested and it will make a guy more attracted to you. I think that's poorly said. My thing is, again, for me, I'm not the pursuer. So if it looks like that I'm not that I'm not interested, then that's not the case for me. But I would certainly, let a gentleman know, hey, I think you're handsome and attractive and all that. That's fine. But okay, there we go. I'm not going to be the one that's initially always picking up the phone. Matter of fact, I'm going to hardly pick up the phone unless I'm returning a call. But he has to initiate the phone call. If I miss the phone call, he leaves a voicemail message, I'll call back. But, we're talking about the initial, few months, whatever. I'm not, no. Anyway, so I would say that it is a bad piece of advice. Another bad piece of advice, number 6, don't ever get married again. That really just depends. If that's not something that you want, then fine. Then don't get married again. But I wouldn't have that as a blanket statement that I always say to every divorced woman that I meet. Never get married again. It's the worst thing. Because I believe in marriage. I'm divorced, but I honestly believe I know that I'm going to get married again. So, okay, number 7, move on and stop feeling sorry for yourself. That depends on what's going on with the person. If they're really at a fragile state and they really need counseling, then that's not a good thing to say to a person who is really at a point in their emotions where they are severely depressed and all those types of things. And you really encourage them. Hey, you say things and speak words of life and value and respect and all those things. And at the same time, encourage them to get help. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm so sick and tired of people feeling like there's such a stigma to go into counseling. It's like saying there's a stigma to go into the doctor because, you have the flu. There's just no stigma. For me, anyway. But, whatever. I shouldn't say that. All right. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. What I should say is if you grew up conditioned by people around you to feel like that's a bad thing, then I'm just going to encourage you to say that it's a wonderful thing and really think of it as that, as it's the same as going to a doctor if you have a physical something physical going on with you. Then it's just as a good a thing to go and get counseling if you need that. Okay, so I'm sorry. So I take that back. Okay. All right. Number 8, anger is for losers. Now there's nothing wrong with feeling upset about something. You just don't want to live there. You don't want to stay there. You don't want to. That's not the place that you want to live in. In constant anger. Because I've spoken about this before about cortisol. And hey, Gail, I've talked about this before about cortisol being released in the body. It's the fight or flight chemical in your body. Whenever you feel like there's a threat, your body, all of your blood rushes to all the major muscles because you're either going to have to fight or you're going to have to run. But, I mean, that's a good thing when you need it. But if you're in a constant state of upset and angry, your body is always releasing the cortisol because it always thinks it's going to have to fight or run. And it starts to do bad things to the body. And so I wouldn't say anger is for losers. If you need to get something out, yeah, get it out. Obviously, that's a healthy thing. Get it out in a healthy way. If you're sitting there, if you're punching your pillow, fine. Get it out. In a healthy way, not to go to the grocery store and yell at the first person that you see. That's not a healthy way. But do what you need to do. Okay, number 9. Um, you're not getting any younger. You need to meet someone and you need to treat it like a full-time job. Okay, I would say that is a bad piece of advice. I mean, yeah, if you want to, you have to make some effort to go out and meet people. That's fine. But I certainly wouldn't say it needs to be a full-time job, to sound like it's some point of desperation or whatever. Yes, everybody, wants, if you feel you need companionship and all that good stuff at this point in your life, that's fine. But I wouldn't say, it's the number one mission because of age. So I would agree with her there. And her last one is number 10, happy endings are only for movies. I would say, yeah, phooey, that's that's a lie. I would definitely say that's a lie because happy endings are for you, or else we wouldn't have a good Papa up in heaven watching over us, who always has our good intentions and all the best dreams and hopes that he had for us before the foundation of the world. And so I would say, yeah, that is a really, really bad piece of advice, that it is true that love and joy and peace and happiness is for you. So I hope that you guys find that helpful, and I hope you guys had a wonderful week. And I'll be back on Monday for Lunch with Laura. I'm sorry I had a really weird week this week. I had the radio interview, and then I had that project yesterday that ran long. But it went well. Just know that we did a presentation to the city of Dallas, and it went well. And so we won't know for probably like another month or so. But keep me in your prayers, okay? Take care. Have a great weekend.